What's going on, guys? Got a video for you today. It's kind of a somber video for me because, in all honesty, I almost died yesterday. And I wanted to share my experience with you guys because it's just so stupid and pointless. And, to think that that could have been how I lost my life it's irritating to me. It angers me, and I know better. I'm a grown man. I know better. So, for those of you that don't know, I live in Maryland. We've had a really bad series of storms come through. I've had to go out and trim trees, cut trees, clear brush, and I've just compiled it in the back of my truck and procrastinated, clearing it out. And I got to the point now where, my truck is fairly full and we've got brush on the ground that I continue to have to clear. So, I live in the sticks. We have a place that we go ride our ATVs and our quads. It's about a mile up the road. You kind of go off onto a dirt path and go up on like an access road and some levees, and we just dump our wood there. Never trash, but wood. Generally, we go up together. There's going to be always someone else when you're clearing that they're clearing, and you go try to help each other out and make it easier and make sure everyone stays safe. Usually dress accordingly, long jeans, long sleeves, because it's brush, man. I've joked around on Twitter, if you follow me. I've had ticks on me from clearing them, and I don't joke because I know ticks are very serious. I had a friend of mine that got very sick from Lyme disease and actually died from a complication from it. So, I know the system here. I know how things work. In this case, I knowingly went up alone. I knowingly told no one where I was going. I knowingly didn't dress properly. The only thing I did partially correctly is I remember I had a really hard time getting my gloves on. And I said, no, I'm gonna fix, because my gloves had gotten wet. I'd pulled them off to dry and inverted the fingers, and they're leather work gloves, so they're a pain to get the fingers pulled back out. And I fidgeted with it for like 30 seconds, and I was like, what, screw it, I won't wear them. And then I remember I grabbed like the first log, and it was that wet, nasty sap, damp log, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm gonna get the glove. So I fixed the glove. That was probably the only thing I did right. I got all the heavy stuff off, and I started to clear the brush, and when I put my hand in, I thought something cut me. I felt something sharp. And I said to myself, that's strange. Nothing of this wet wood would be able to cut me. And when I pulled my hand back, I looked at where my pain was coming from, and I didn't see anything. But at the same point, I noticed there was some wasps on my glove that were trying to sting me through the glove. In that time frame, that 4 to 5 seconds, I honestly got swarmed by wasps, which prior to today I would have laughed at anyone that said, hey, I got swarmed by wasps. Because it doesn't seem to make sense to how something so small is going to damage you. So, you want to talk about pain. I've gotten stung, 47 times on my arm and back. I got in the truck because I knew at that point I was in trouble. And I remember there were wasps in the truck with me. And my brain said, you've already been stung enough. Let these sting you. You have to go. It was like one of those moments where your body just goes. And I remember I didn't even try to get the wasps out. I just didn't care. I'm driving down the road, and I said that I'm going to go to my parents, because I knew I was in a bad way. I was really having a hard time breathing. My vision was becoming pretty blurred, and even though it's only a quarter-mile drive, I remember turning into the driveway. I watched my hands motion blur on the wheel, and I've never experienced anything like that. And I said, this is really bad. And if I'd told somebody where I was going, if I'd stopped for a minute to get somebody else, if I'd worn the right clothing, there's so many things that I could have done. If I'd done this right away, I wouldn't have ever had to deal with this. You know, my parents drive me to the hospital. You know, I know that I'm blacking out on the way there. I know that I'm not breathing at times because I can feel my chest and my throat tightening. I don't, for another thing, you know, I have an allergy to antihistamines. I've got the bracelet for it. God knows where it is. I go into the emergency room. They're actually there waiting for me. Like they called, you know, my parents called ahead and was like, you know, we're having, you know, somebody going into anaphylactic shock. You need to be ready when we get there. And thankfully, they took time during that phone call to look up my medical records, because if they hadn't, they probably would have given me Benadryl. They probably would have given me some type of antihistamine, and that more than likely would have just killed me right then and there. They did administer me, you know, epinephrine. I don't carry my EpiPen, even though I should. They gave it to me. They gave me steroids. They gave me oxygen. They gave me 2 IV bags. They put me on a painkiller, which I don't normally take. So for much of the hospital stay, I was told I was an excellent comedian, but don't remember much. I do know that, you know, I've got multiple stingers still in me, because the swelling was so bad that they kind of swelled over each other, you know. But I mean, guys, you can't take dumb stuff for granted. I looked at my release papers when I came in, which is maybe 15 minutes post sting. I was 173 over 116 blood pressure. I'm generally a pretty healthy guy. God knows what it was 15 minutes before that. You know, I was supposed to be in Pocono today, prepping our race car. You just can't take mundane, simple things for granted. You can't knowingly do things the wrong way, no matter how small, because I'll tell you, there's people that have actually died where I was. We really don't know what happened, but let's just say I didn't get back in the truck. Someone probably 2 or 3 days from now would have came across my body, saw that I was pulling wood out of the back of my truck, left my door open, left the truck running, you know, probably at that point, you know, been picked over by some of the foxes, the wolves, the vultures we have around here. And for what? Because I didn't want to take an extra 5 minutes out of my day to put on a correct shirt that probably could have helped, to stop at a neighbor's and ask them if they needed help too, to tell somebody, hey, this is where I'm going, you know, if I don't come right back, give me a call. I mean, that's just stupid shit. I'm a grown adult. You know, and I know we all have things that we put off and we don't do right. And there's a variety of reasons behind it, but you just can't do it. So, I mean, this is going to screw me up for a good long while. You know, while I was in there, they even told me, you know, a couple years ago, a construction worker kind of had the same thing happen. He had his EpiPen. He put it, you know, he injected it right away. He had somebody that drove him right to the hospital. But in the same time frame, even though he was stung less, you know, the anaphylactic shock just basically means more than one of your body system shuts down. And, you know, he was a little older than me, but he never got his vitals back, and he died. And I can't imagine, you know, you never know how your life's going to end, right? But nobody sits there and thinks, oh, you know, my life's going to end clearing lumber out of the back of a truck and getting stung by, you know, 50, 60 wasps on a Thursday afternoon. Something that I've done since I was a kid, you know, clearing lumber. So, I know it's been a long video, man, and I hope that you take something from it rather than just listen to what happened. Because, set everything else on my channel aside, if I can prevent you from making the same stupid mistake I did and affecting your life permanently, then that means more than any subscriber count or ticket giveaway or game giveaway or anything, man. So I'll be back in the week with more commentary. And man, I really do appreciate you guys checking this out. Thank you.